Welcome to the Northeast Kingdom Voice. I'm your host, Scott Wheeler. Today's guest is Harriett Hall of the Vermont Association of the Blind and Visually Impaired. Welcome to the show, Harriett.
Thank you, Scott.
I don't know is this your first time on my show or
It's the
not?
first time on your show, yes.
What about my radio show? Seems like you've been on. Oh, really?
First time.
Where have you been?
Well, I do a show of my own as well. I
Right.
bring consumers on to talk about blindness and mobility skills and what they have received for services with the Vermont Association of the Blind and Visually Impaired. I am a coordinator of support services for PALS groups, and my territory includes from Tunbridge, Vermont, up to Bloomfield, Island Pond, way over to the islands, over past St. Albans. I have a very large territory, and I run support groups for the Vermont Association of the Blind and Visually Impaired. And our mission is to enable Vermonters, regardless if they're blind or visually impaired, to have complete independence in their home and in their community. My job is to help them as they come on board. I deal mainly with adults, and I deal with seniors mostly. We do have younger people that come into my program, but my program is to continue to have people remain in their homes and be an active member of their community. The ways we do that is I have a PALS group meeting that meets the first Mondays of every month in Newport, Vermont at the State Building. I run other PALS groups throughout the state.
What does PAL stand for?
PALS stands for Peer Assistive Learning and Support.
Okay.
And what we do is we help individuals learn about the resources that they're going to need to function independently in their home. And we provide low vision evaluation, which means that we sit with an individual and we try to master exactly what they need. If it's magnification, if it's learning to use different lighting for different functioning, and to use adaptive equipment that will help them be able to function completely independently. So when somebody comes on board that have first been diagnosed as being visually impaired, very commonly some of the eye diseases that we deal with all the time are cataracts, macular degeneration, diabetic retinopathy, and retinitis pigmentosa are very common. We deal with all sorts of blind and visually impaired diseases. We help them to understand what's happening to them. And what in our PALS group, it's the same thing as losing somebody that you love very much. You go through the same grieving process. Mm-hmm. You go through the denial process. Is this really happening to me? I don't want nobody to know I'm losing my vision. I'm going to be isolated. I'm not going to go out in the community. Don't tell anybody that I'm having a problem. Then the next aspect is the anger that they show. Mm-hmm. You know, they're very angry. This happened to them. They can no longer drive, and this is a big part of being independent, because if you can't drive in the Northeast Kingdom, mm-hmm. you're not going to go anywhere. And then, you know, you start to think about, well, you know, maybe, you know, they thought thinking about God and maybe bartering a little bit, you know, I will do this if my vision gets better. Well, that doesn't work either. And then, you know, they start getting depressed. That's when I usually come in and get them involved in a group setting so that they can learn from other people that are blind and visually impaired, and that they know that they're not the only people that are having a certain problem. And then they start to get to be able to be accepted and into their community by getting out a little bit and getting together with PALS members. And what the PALS members do is they learn from each other. They learn that you can actually continue to stay in your home and communicate. Mm-hmm. You can learn that you can still cook. I mean, you can still do your mail. You can still work on the computer. And so then we start to do the rehab classes. And in our rehab classes, you can learn to figure out exactly how do I cook from one another. They learn from each other that cooking has a lot to do with contrast. Take your cup of coffee here, for instance. how, if you could not see, how would you make yourself a cup of coffee? Well, very easy skills that are simple, but it's just a different way of learning techniques. For instance, my favorite way of pouring a cup of coffee is putting a white cup into a sink and pouring the black coffee into the cup. And if I spill it, I'm not going to get burnt. I'm not going to make a mess. Different little scenarios like that. We show them how to do the cooking with liquids. There's many other ways of teaching, and we find out what's comfortable for the individual and work with them. Okay. Some people like to use a liquid indicator, which is a thing that goes on the side of the cup, and when you pour the liquid in, it makes a beeping noise. But we work with individuals to learn what their comfort level is, and we teach the techniques. Some of the other things that people learn about is labeling. How do you stay in your home if you can no longer see or see well? How do you figure out what to wear in the day, in the morning, when you get up in the morning? How are you going to learn how to do that? We help them with organizational skills. We help them either label clothing. Some people feel really good about labeling, and they can read Braille, or they have certain bumps they put on certain colors. Or some people are really organized. I'm not, but some people are, and they like to wear certain clothes as an outfit, and that's the only way they would do it. One outfit gets put here, one outfit gets put in the middle, one outfit, and they always wear them outfits together. Another way, there's a little device that if you put it on your clothes, it'll tell you what color your clothes are, so that you're not going to wear pink with red or whatever. You'll know that you have a black suit, a black shirt with black pants, or whatever the color is, and that makes it very handy. There's other techniques that we use for organizational skills, and it depends on the person and their comfort level. Then you come to, what about your cupboards? How do you know that you're going to have a can of peas compared to a can of carrots? Well, we help people become organized, and then help them in a way of organizing and labeling, so that they're either being labeled. There's all kinds of ways to label things. You can label in Braille, you can label with large print, you can label with little pieces of fruit that are magnets onto the can. You can label with rubber bands. You can label with whatever a person's very comfortable, what they feel that, oh, now I'm going to know this. Because, if you don't label things when you get home from shopping, peas or carrots, you can shake the can and you think you know what's in it, and then you open it up and whoops, not what I had in mind. But anyway, teaching people how to label is really important, and that's just one aspect of what we do. And throughout your home, your medications, we just help individuals learn different techniques for labeling whatever it is they need. The other thing is, I don't know about you, but my money is important to me. How about money? How do you tell what money is? Well, coins is very easy to distinguish, a penny from a dime. A dime is thinner than a penny, and a penny has smooth edges, a dime has rough edges. Your quarters are the same thing. But what about the bills? When it comes to a bill, how do you know that, I'm giving you a $5 bill, or if I'm giving you a $20 bill, how do I know that you're giving me back the right amount of change? Well, so then we have different techniques that we use to show them how they can manage the money. There's a folding technique, or there's I prefer to always get one denomination at the bank. I like to get completely tens all the time. And then that way I know what's getting back to me. And say that I know that the item costs $4.50, I know that I'm getting a 5 back. We have audio devices that can tell us that it's a $1 bill, it's a $5 bill, it's a $10 bill, $20 bill. So all you have to do is slip it in. But most people don't want to carry a lot of gadgets around with them. So a lot of times we teach them how to fold money in different denominations, or put things in a different pocket in a wallet. But most people find that folding the money really works well. You fold a 5 in half, you fold a 10 in half the opposite way, you leave your 20s, out straight, and your ones go in a different pocket.
Do you find, though, most store people are honest, and they will really help you?
Most people are honest. Not everyone, though. You have to be careful. And most people that are blind and visually impaired, I think, have their favorite places that they can visit, and they trust the people that they work with as well. And I know if I'm going shopping, one of our programs is with our volunteer program, and we have a volunteer go with them, and they'll help them, you know, in the store get a certain item, and they'll watch carefully as the change is being made as well. So, but we do help them with money identification and helping them to understand and get organized in that fashion as well. A big obstacle, of course, is when you can't see very well. How do you get around your home again, and how do you get around in the community? So our resources will tell you, we will work with you in either learning how to use a sighted guide, learning how to use a white cane. Some instances people are interested in getting a guide dog, but we will help teach you the mobility skills that is needed for you to be safely in your home, whatever they might be. And of course, you know, we try to personalize everything, because some people may never want to go outside down on Main Street by themselves. They may always want to have a guide with them, and that's okay. Then we show them the sighted guide techniques. One of the things, a big thing is people will say, I can't see no more, how can I cook? How can I possibly cook anymore? I can't see. How can I fry an egg? How can I fry bacon? We have different techniques that we show how to cook. We have different devices that can be used. I'm not a device person. I'm visually impaired myself, and I'm not somebody that likes all kinds of gadgets. Most of the time, I do things on a slower level. I won't cook meat on high. You know, I cook it low, although I do grill cooking, and that's different. But using different techniques, we will teach you how to do different things and how to determine when things are done. And of course, it takes, you know, a while to get used to it. Another thing is home safety, keeping your home safe and maintained. How do you do that? Well, there's many little things that you have to make sure that you're always organized, and you have to make sure you know where everything is at every time. Really important. But then, what about your loose rugs? What about loose scatter rugs? You know, they're the most dangerous thing in the world. Knowing where steps are, of course, is a needed necessity. And we will also go in your home and take evaluation of whatever that you have there, and then work with you, whatever you need. One of the situations in one of our groups was really interesting. This lady used to do a whole lot of home maintenance. And she lost her sight, and she went to the group meeting, and she was extremely upset that she was no longer going to be able to hammer a nail. This gentleman that was totally blind said, well, what do you mean? I built my whole porch after I lost my sight. And he explained to her how you can hammer a nail without even hitting your finger. And she came back to the next group meeting, and she said, you know what? It worked. It really worked. And so they learn from one another. They learn different techniques that it might not work for you, but it will work for someone else.
Here's a question I'd like to, because I think you're one of the biggest success stories in this area, because I know your background, and I know you come from hard work, but I also know you've had, unlike some of the people you're talking about who develop visual impairments, you were born visually impaired, and you had a lot going against you, and you now have your master's degree.
Yes, I do.
And I commend you, because I think you've done spectacular. But you are able to provide these people with lifelong knowledge on what it's like to be visually impaired. Does that really help you?
I think so, because I grew up, my father was totally blind. And so there was one word that you never used in my vocabulary, and that word was can't.
Right.
You could not say, I can't do something because I was, had a problem seeing. And going to school back when I went to school, there wasn't all the programs that you have today. And up until I was in the 6th grade, I didn't learn a lot. Because I could be the class clown, I could get away with whatever, because I couldn't see whatever. Yeah. But then I met a wonderful lady, and she told me that nobody was going to ever get out of her class without reading and writing.
Right. and I know who that. I still remember who that woman
And
was.
I do too, because she made a big difference
Eva
in my
Warner.
life. It was Eva Warner. And from that day on, I was exposed to many different things, and she would stay after school and write things in big letters so that I could read them. It was just amazing experience for me. But always having the willpower to always want to improve yourself is really important, and I think a positive attitude is what really helps create somebody to continue to go on. It's one thing to say, I can't do this, and feel sorry for yourself. But who really wants to be around somebody that feels sorry for themselves? If you have a positive attitude, you get a whole lot more. People are happy to be around you. They're willing to help you, If I came to you with a really bad attitude and, asked you for something, you'd probably say, well, I don't know if I want to be around that person.
Yeah, well, they I hate to say it, negative people really suck your energy too, because negativism really, even though you have a right to be a little negative occasionally, especially if you're losing your eyesight. Like when you were talking about the stages of acceptance, you're basically also talking the stages Kubler-Ross's death and dying,
Yes.
coming to grips, because if you're going blind, there is a death that is occurring. It's a death of
your eyesight.
Of your eyesight, so you do have to go through.
And it isn't just the death of your eyesight, but it is the death of independence, because no matter how much independence we have, we're not fully independent. Like I'm very lucky that I have a job where I have a paid driver, where she gets paid an hourly wage, and she gets paid for mileage. And she has other things she has to do for me too. Certain days I can't read certain things, and in different lighting I can't read certain things. So I'm really lucky that I have that component where I have a job where I don't have to worry about getting here and getting there, because relying on somebody to go to the doctors or go, to see a friend or go to a funeral or go to work, you always have to plan. You can't ever do anything on a spur of the moment.
Right. No.
So
I just recently did an article on a fella in his 90s who. He said that if it wasn't for his iPad, he just, a lot of older people are real nervous of technology, but he is in his 90s and his sight is slowly diminishing and his hearing, but he's a very intellectual guy, and he found that his iPad. I'm showing my my age. I don't know the difference, and he likes the iPad because he can still read newspapers and from around the world because he can make the word bigger, and that's one piece of advice he has for older people, especially who are losing their hearing and losing their sight, is don't be afraid of the technology. It'll do wonders for you.
And we do technology training, and one of the things with technology is not just the enlargement, but nowadays the audio.
Yep.
I mean, I have an app the other day. I just found this app that was really cool. It is called a Ken Find, and I can point it at an object that I might not be able to see, and it will put it out on print what it is on the screen, but then it will tell me what it is. And it was a candle dish, and it told exactly the different designs in it. And it was just really awesome to be able to know what something was when I wasn't even that close to it. Oh, that's cool,
Think about how things have changed compared to when your father was born. Maybe 90 years ago? I know he's now passed, but think of what his life was.
Right. Because it was really nothing. Back years ago, when my father was blind, there wasn't any services. We're 90 years now, and when it first started, we were just helping people with blindness, with the Braille, and maybe getting some Braille writers so they could communicate a little bit. But now we have programs that are really helping teaching to stay independent. And I know just since I was a kid in school, I would have loved to had, some of the devices now that they have. Learning would have been so much easier. Now the kids have computers, and if it's not an enlargement program, it's an audio program. So really wonderful.
Okay, we only have about like 10 more minutes. We ought to at least mention you have a big fundraiser coming up, and with one of this area's most versatile singers and just a community spirit in his own right is Mark Shelton. When is that event taking place?
That event is Saturday, April 23rd, and it's going to be at Paul's Sugar House in Derby, Vermont. And it's a $10 admission, and there's going to be a 50-50 raffle. And there is a door prize. We have Eastside Restaurant has donated $40 gift certificate, and Mark Sheldon is coming. He's going to do it for us free, and that's really nice of him to raise money for our 90th celebration. We have a lot of programs that we do, including transportation, and budgets are tight, and we are a nonprofit, and as the community ages, as we are an aging state, we are having more and more people that are coming in with visual impairment, but our budget does not increase. So we have never done a fundraiser in this area like this before, so I'd like to invite everybody to come and see Mark Sheldon, who is a wonderful singer, just a dynamite, everything from rock and roll to impersonating Elvis to the worshiping songs that he does is incredible.
Okay, well, let's show a clip of Mark in action.
You're just a natural born behind. You feel the honey to the top. Now I ain't greedy, baby, how I want. Are you gonna no, baby? I ain't asking much of you. No, but there's a bigger amount of love with you.
So again, when is this fundraiser?
It is Saturday, April 23rd, beginning at 11 a.m.
And it's at the Paul's Sugar House?
Yes, in Derby, Vermont.
Right, okay. And I will tell you to the viewers and the listeners that Mark is multi-talented. It'll be worth every penny of it, and it'll also go to a good cause. And you have another event coming up?
We do. We have a technology fair coming up. That is going to be April 6th, and it's a Wednesday, and it's at Linden State College. And it's an opportunity to come and find out all the new technology that is available for blind and visual impairment, everything from lighted magnifiers to high-tech computer programs.
Right.
And so I just wanted to throw that out for a mention.
You know, we've talked a lot about blindness in the visually impaired, but is there any new headway being made on keeping people from losing their sight?
Yes, there's a lot of lots and lots of research out there right now. When I first started working with the Vermont Association of the Blind 21 years ago, I heard about macular degeneration, and there was absolutely nothing that could be done at that time. Now there are shots that people can go through every 6 weeks that are holding the macular degeneration stable so that people aren't losing it as quick as they used to. There's a lot of different research on a lot of different programs where implantments have been made after cataract surgery for the lenses, and new technology and new resources are coming out all the time. So it is coming, especially diabetes. Diabetes is where little blood vessels burst in the eye, and it is where that, the diabetic will have blood in the eye, and of course they can take that out with lasers and help to keep the vision clearer for a longer period of time.
Right.
And back 35 years ago, I had cataract surgery and was in the hospital for 6 weeks, and now you have cataract surgery and you're out
6
in
weeks.
an hour.
6 weeks? You
6
were-
weeks, yes.
Really?
Yeah, because it was a long time ago, and they didn't know, and I had an infection in the eye, and so it was a little different. My eye disease is very rare. I have aniridia, which is I don't have any iris in the eye, so I have light sensitivity. And they don't know that much about my eye problem. It's very common overseas, over in Europe, but it isn't here. So it's just one of those things. There are a lot of eyesight problems out there, and we do what we can.
Right. And you must have gone through periods in your life where you knew what these people who are in despair about losing their sight, even though you were born visually impaired, there had to have been times in your life where you said, woe is me, and then focused.
Oh, yes. I try to have a positive attitude, but you know, I get upset at times too, and you know, sometimes I paint the room blue, but that's okay. You know, you need to get that stress out, and you need to have a positive attitude, and you have to, one thing that you really have to do as well is to be able to laugh at yourself, because I do make some funny mistakes sometimes.
And I think that's a secret to aging, or just being a human being, because
Right.
you know, I'm the butt of most of my own jokes.
No, it's true. You really do. Yeah, you need to, and pay attention, and you know, I plan on living a very long time, and I don't care if I go totally blind. I know that I can do whatever it takes to do the things that I want to continue to do, because I'll find a way to do them.
And in your household, if I recall right, visually impairment is, you know, it's just, you know, your husband John, he has his own.
Right. He has a TBI, and within that, the optic nerve was destroyed.
Right.
And then
And he managed to serve in the State House. And
That's right.
And if I recall right, they provided him with a instrument so he could read the bills.
Right. So there's nothing you really can't do if you put your mind to it, and you may have to use a different technique of some kind, but really there isn't anything that we cannot do.
Right.
I mean, besides maybe driving a car or driving an airplane, and nowadays the Google car is coming out, and who knows?
But that's it. Is they say that within our lifetime, because they're already experimenting with it, that cars, you're going to be able to hop in a car and go to sleep.
That's right.
And
so we're all excited about that, but I don't know if I really trust the computer quite that much yet.
All right, again, as we wrap up now, the date of the benefit concert with Mark Shelton is when and where?
It is Saturday, April 23rd, and it is at Paul's Sugar House in Derby, Vermont. And we hope everybody comes, and if anybody would like more information, please give me a call.
At?
And my number is 323-3055.
And your technology fair.
And our technology fair is Wednesday, April 6th, from 10 to 2 at Linden State College.
Okay, in closing, I again want to thank you for coming on, but I can't commend you enough for all you have done. Because when I served in the State House, you were always there. You were always lobbying for your cause, and I know this goes beyond just making, you know, a job for you. This is your mission, but I think it's great from knowing where you've come and knowing where you are and knowing where you're going. I think you've done such a great job at helping so many people.
Well, I want to continue to help as much as I can. I've worked on a lot of different state boards, and I continue to do advocacy here and at the state level, and I hope to be doing that to the day I die.
Right. So I guess a little bit of Eva Warner still lives on through you.
Absolutely, she really does. She was just an amazing woman that I, you know, without her, I probably wouldn't have been nothing today. And I'm very proud of the work that I have done. And it was, you know, it's been an adventure, and I love working with people. And I am going to be getting done the end of June, retiring, but I will still be out there doing advocacy and trying out some new things that are really interesting to do.
Okay, well, thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
And thank you to the viewers for tuning in to another segment of the Northeast Kingdom Voice.